At least 4% of Malaysian children aged between 12 and 17 who use the internet may have been subjected to online sexual exploitation and abuse within the past year. Scaled to the population, this represents an estimated 100,000 children. Here's more findings from a recent global survey jointly conducted by UNICEF and civil groups. Titled Disrupting Harm in Malaysia, some of the evidences of sexual exploitation and abuse involving children online include being blackmailed to engage in sexual activities, having their sexual images shared without permission, or being coerced to engage in sexual activities through promises of money or gifts. In the report, it found around 2% of respondents were offered money or gifts for sexual images or videos, while 1% reported that they were offered money or gifts in exchange for sexual acts in person. A further 3% said that someone had shared sexual images of them without their consent, and a total of 24% of internet-using children in Malaysia had also been exposed to sexual content when they did not expect it, while 1% of the children surveyed said they had been blackmailed. The report went on to clarify that there is an expected level of underreporting for the survey because of privacy concerns, hesitation to discuss sex and sexuality, fear of stigma, and possible fear of criminal liability. Dr. Raj Karim, chairperson of End Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children Network Malaysia, underscored the importance of sex education to help children identify sexual exploitation and abuse and predatory behaviors.
It is important that children get information and correct information on sexual education so that they can protect themselves. So we want to increase their own protective behavior. We want them to know the risk of being sexually harassed or sexually abused online, to know what the boundaries are, to be able to know how to say, to be able to know when and how to say no, and to be able to report, uncomfortable or unwanted remarks or actions against the perpetrators. So it's not only a question of giving them information against, protecting pregnancy and protecting them against HIV, AIDS, etc., but it's also to strengthen their own confidence and belief and their own ability to be able to recognize risks online and offline.
The multinational report involving 13 countries in Eastern and Southern Africa, as well as Southeast Asia, was produced by End Child Prostitution and Trafficking International, Interpol, and UNICEF Office of Research. Putting an end to online sexual exploitation and abuse among children requires a multi-sectoral effort. Research consultant at UNICEF Innocenti, Marium Hussein, said the effort should involve governments, industry players, and educational institutions.
And so government, of course, is one. We have industry, which is another very big one, especially when you consider, for example, that and I hope I'm getting the numbers right, but it's 17% of children from our survey data said that they had come across sexual images because they were looking for them, and 24% saw them by accident, right? So this is a point where it's really important to consider, okay, what is the tech industry's role to play in making sure that children are not accidentally coming across harmful material? And then, of course, there's caregivers themselves. There's the education system, which can be a really, really important player, especially in terms of raising awareness. There's, of course, law enforcement, legislation, as I mentioned earlier. So all of those sectors and all of those parties, the idea really is for them to work together and also to work with children, right? We spoke a lot about this during the event. We had Farzana from Monsters Among Us presenting with us and moderating part of the event. And a big part of the conversation was making sure that we're working with children, not just as beneficiaries or as people who are subjects, but are actually involved in finding solutions and in taking on more protective actions against abuse.